Okay, now we come to the second little part on company. This part is a little bit brief. These are dealing with the two types of companies. The last lecture we talked about companies as in generically companies with referring to all companies. This part is on the two different types of company. They are on pages 15 and 16 of your book, chapter 2, pages 15 and 16. The two types of companies in Thailand are, yes, you guessed it. Number one, what is it? The most common ones? Oops. Sorry about that. Company Limited. Company Limited. Or they would abbreviate it as, the Ministry of Commerce would abbreviate it as CO dot, comma, Ltd. dot. Alright, and the other one is, yes, Public Company Limited. Or they would abbreviate it as PCL, Public Company Limited, as in PCL. Alright, now in all countries of the world, you get, except for maybe the communist countries, alright, you get these two main types of companies. Very similar in the characteristics of each. I'll go to the characteristics of each soon. But they're using different names in other countries. Alright, similar characteristics, they have these two kinds. Alright, the characteristics are very similar. They also have similar characteristics for their two kinds. Right? But the names that they use are different. Right? So for example, just since we're in international business, like if you look at Singapore, right, they, for company limited, they use the word PTE Ltd or private limited. Right? This is the abbreviation. Right? On Australia, New Zealand is proprietary limited. Right? PTY Ltd, proprietary limited. In the US, in the US it's called Inc, as in incorporation. In Germany, it's GmbH. Don't tell me what's it called in German. I don't speak German, so I'm sorry, I have to leave that out. Okay, Public Company Limited. Alright, in most places it's PCL, some places they call it PLC. Alright. Okay. Now, what is the difference? Well, let me just put a division line in between so that people can see clearly. The difference between the two is one distinct difference. The shareholders. The type of shareholders involved is the difference. The shareholders of this kind of company are normally the shareholders from people who know each other quite well. Basically, the shareholders are people who is in the same sort of a gang, the same sort of family. Right, same family, same surname, family's friend, relatives, close friends. So you will normally find shareholders of the company limited knowing each other pretty well. Public Company Limited shareholder, as the name says public. Right? The shareholders are people from the same gang, same family, same close friends. Yes, you have that as well. And also people who are not from the same gang, people who are not from the same family or friends outside the gang are also shareholders. Right? As the name says, public, or in Thai they call Mahachon Jamkat. And this is Borisat Jamkat Company Limited. Okay. The Public Company Limited is further divided into two more kinds here. What is known as listed public company limited and unlisted public company limited. All right. Listed, unlisted. Listed means the public company limited is selling its shares in the stock market of Thailand. Unlisted means the company is not selling its shares in the stock market of Thailand. Alright? Don't think that every Borisat Mahachon Jamkat is selling their shares in the stock market of Thailand. No. Not all of them. Those that are listed, you can find their names in this website, www.settrade.com, or you can go to the government stock exchange website as well. The companies that are in this website, settrade.com, settrade.com, the companies whose names appear in this website, they are the listed public companies, which means that they are selling their shares in the stock market. If you don't find a company name there, it is unlisted. Alright, so you cannot really tell from the name of a company whether it is listed or not. Just because the company's name is ABC Public Company Limited, that doesn't mean it's selling the shares in the stock market. It may be an unlisted public company. How you would know whether it's listed or not? Go to this website. If you don't find the name there, it's not listed, which means that the PCL sells the shares one time to the people in the same family, the gang, and also to people outside the gang. One time. That's it. Alright, but a public company limited that is listed, they will sell the shares in the stock market. The shares of the PCL that is listed will be buy and sell every day in the stock exchange of Thailand. The capital of the listed public company limited would come from the very first time that the shares of this listed public company limited is released into the market. I repeat, the capital of a public company limited that is listed would come from only the very first sale of the shares of the company in the stock market of Thailand. In other words, they call it, in financial terms, they call it the initial public offering of the shares, or the IPO of the shares into the stock market. Practically speaking, the first time the shares is released by the company into the stock market and people buy, that price, that very first price that people buy, would be the money that is going into the company as the capital. Only that first time, the initial public offering price will go into the company as the capital. Okay? Now, before I try to answer the question that is maybe starting to be lurking in some of your heads of, why would some PCL want to be listed and why not? I would want to maybe backtrack a little bit because I think I might have forgotten it here. On one or two other differences between these two kinds of companies. So I'm backtracking, okay? Before I come back to address why some companies want to be listed and some don't want to be listed. Why some public company limited want to be listed and why some public company limited don't want to be listed. Backtrack to one or two other difference. I forgot to mention. Okay, I mentioned just now that the difference between this and this is that the company limited, the shareholders in the company limited, they normally know each other quite well. People from the same gang, the same relatives, same friends. Alright, and the people who is from the same gang and also people who is from outside the gang can buy the shares. And I said there's that one difference there. I forgot there are actually two other differences. One is on the shareholders' numbers and the other one is on the directors' numbers. The law do prescribe minimum numbers of shareholders and directors for this and this. The minimum numbers of shareholders, I put here minimum number of shareholders for a company limited is how many? 3 shareholders. Now when I say shareholders here, it means a person, which means the shareholder doesn't necessarily have to be only a human being. It can also be a juristic person that would be holding the shares. So the minimum number of shareholders for a company limited is 3 shareholders. The minimum number of directors for a company limited, 1 director. Now, if you have only 1 director, let me bring this down. If you have only 1 director, in the company limited, then that same 1 director would be the CEO as well, of course. Okay? Would be the CEO or the managing director as well, because there's nobody else, right? There's only 1 person. The minimum number of directors, a minimum number of shareholders, for a public company limited is 15. The minimum number of directors for a public company limited is 5. Now you notice they are all odd numbers. No even numbers here. For shareholders and for directors. Shareholders and directors. Odd numbers. Why odd numbers? So that in meetings you can have a majority vote. Alright. Okay, so one difference is company limited, the shareholders know each other well, people from the same gang, people from outside the gang as well can buy the shares. The minimum numbers of shareholders are different. 3 here, 15 here. The minimum numbers of directors are also different. 1 here, 5 here. Alright, now I come back to address the question of why would some PCL choose to be listed and some choose not to. Well, there are quite a lot of reasons. Okay, there are a lot of reasons. There are quite a lot of reasons because they are centered around. The reasons are centered around the conditions laid down by the Stock Exchange of Thailand on how can a public company be listed. You see, to be listed on the stock exchange is not easy. The public company limited would have to meet quite a lot of conditions laid down by the Stock Exchange of Thailand in order to be able to be listed, in order to be able to sell the shares on the stock market of Thailand. If the PCL does not meet the condition laid down by the Stock Exchange of Thailand, then it cannot sell the shares. It cannot be listed in the stock market. Alright? But why would people want to go through this headache? Why would PCLs want to go through this headache of meeting all these conditions of the stock exchange? They could easily go unlisted, sell the shares one time to the people, then that's it. Right? Why would they want to be listed? Why would they want to go and meet all these conditions of the stock exchange? Well, the reason is this. When the public company has met the condition laid out by the stock exchange, they not only become listed, they will be looked upon. The companies that are listed will be looked upon by the public as companies that can be trusted in what they are doing, in what they are selling. Alright? Their actions can be trusted, and it also builds confidence. Why do I say it creates trust and confidence by people, on people? Well, let's look at some of the conditions of the stock exchange so you get a better idea why being listed creates a certain level of confidence and trust on the public's view of the listed public company limited. I'm trying to find space here. Okay, let me just move this camera down a little bit. Okay. One of the conditions, there are many conditions, okay, but this is one of them. One of the conditions laid down by the Stock Exchange of Thailand before a company can be listed, before a PCL can be listed, is that the company, the public company limited, must disclose its financial statements to the public. In other words, the PCL would have to print its balance sheet, its income statements in the newspaper, disclose completely on the website to the public. It is not some document that you have to go to the Ministry of Commerce and the Revenue Department to try and get it. Or sorry, not the Revenue Department, but the Ministry of Commerce to try and get it. No. It has to be fully disclosed to the public every year. Alright? The second kind of conditions, right, is that with this kind of companies, it must have independent directors, or they call Kamakan Isara. In order for the company to be listed on the stock exchange, having these 5 directors there is not enough. Alright? It's not enough. This is enough if it's unlisted. But if you want to be listed, 5 is not enough. There must be these independent directors there as well. Why? These independent directors, this is why they use the word independent. Independent of what? Independent of the gang. Independent of certain shareholders or shareholders, actually not certain, independent of any shareholders in the company, any directors in the company. In other words, the independent directors cannot be related directly or indirectly to any of the shareholders or directors of the company. The independent directors would sit in the board of directors meeting and check on the actions of the other directors in the meeting. You see? So it avoids any kind of a conflict of interest, gang effect, or in Thai you call a gan eng kind of effect among the directors. Right? Whereas in this kind of companies, that is possible. But with this guys, independent directors sitting in the board of directors meeting, it cuts down this kind of activities going on. Alright, favoritism, conflict of interest, helping each other, right? Helping the same gang kind of effect. It doesn't happen with this guy sitting there. Alright? Because the independent directors will report to the stock exchange. And if the stock exchange knows it, the stock exchange will immediately suspend trading, buying and selling of the shares of the public company limited in the stock market. Another one. There are many actually. These are, you could say, these are the main ones in people's perception actually. Audit committee members. Audit committee members. A public company listed must have audit committee members sitting on its board of directors as well. The audit committee members would check on the accounts of the company to make sure that the financial statements are not cooked. In other words, the financial statements reflects what is truly going on in the company. Alright, money coming in and out. The transactions are true, not some created effect to show a fake profit where in reality is something else. The audit committee members would check on this. You see, this is how it builds trust, how it builds confidence in the public. Right? Okay, and of course, there's one more. I mean, there are a lot, but this is one other one. CSR activities. This kind of public company, they don't have to do CSR activity. Don't have to. They don't have to take money from their income, right, to go and build a school for poor kids, for homeless people, home for homeless people, helping the people in the floods, right, provide food from people who are unemployed due to the coronavirus. They don't have to take, this kind of companies don't have to take money that they make in their income to do this kind of corporate social responsible activity or CSR activities. But if it's a listed company, it is a requirement. It is a must, a requirement of the stock exchange that the company must do CSR activities. If you look into settrade.com, alright, and if you look at the website of all the companies that is in settrade.com, in other words, the companies that are selling shares on the stock exchange, if you go to the individual company's website, there is an icon there in every of these companies' website on CSR activities that the companies do. It's not because the company like to do it or not. They don't have a choice. They must do, because it's the Stock Exchange of Thailand's regulations. If not, they won't be listed. For these guys, it's optional, which you may have already guessed. Most of them don't do it. Why would they want to take money from their income to do CSR activities? Alright, there are other reasons here as well. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just explaining this here to show you why some PCL choose to be listed. Because with this kind of things, this kind of conditions being met, and be able to sell the shares in the stock market, it creates a certain level of trust, a certain level of confidence in the public when doing business with the companies that are listed on the Stock Exchange of Thailand. That's all I have to say about this company's part. The next lecture we will deal with foreign companies.